हरि बोल, बोल हरि बोल।
बोल कृपालु महाप्रभु की
जय।
श्रीमद सद्गुरु सरकार की
जय।
ध्यानमूलं गुरोर्मूर्तिः पूजामूलं गुरोर्पदम् मन्त्रमूलं गुरोर्वाक्यम् भक्तिमूलं गुरोर्कृपा। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनम् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनम् देवकी परमानन्दम् कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रणोति तस्मै तग्मंह देवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशम् मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये। Dear devotees, we'll have a couple minutes of Nam Sankirtan, and after that we'll have some question and answer on devotional topics. Bhajo Giridhar Govind Gopala.
भजो गिरिधर गोविंद गोपाला।
भजो Radhe Radhe, everyone. We have a few questions this morning that have been sent to me from devotees, and we'll also be able to take live questions if anybody here has something that they want to ask in the process of this Q&A this morning. I'm going to start with a technical question, and then we'll get into a couple of practical things that affect almost every devotee's life, or they wonder about how to implement this philosophy into their life. And by the way, because we'll be having a lot of, probably a lot of people coming from town and joining throughout, so just don't mind if there's a little bit of commotion of people coming and going. It's fine. In fact, maybe those of you who are already seated, if you can move forward a little bit, make some more room on the some more floor seating. These questions I received, I'm just going to paraphrase, and if you know the ones who asked the questions, if you want to follow up on any details that I might have left out, we can have some follow-up discussion after the satsang. First question is about wisdom and whether there's a difference between wisdom of the soul and wisdom of the mind. And who is the knower? Is it the soul or is it the mind? Mind can't know anything without the soul because the soul is our true identity. The soul is the life force. The mind is a lifeless energy. It has the ability to function only because it is associated with the soul. We say, my mind knows, my mind understands, my mind experiences, and on one hand this is all correct, but the mind isn't doing this on its own. It's kind of like how you can say, if someone is a skilled painter, you would say, oh, look how skilled their hand is. But is it the hand doing it on its own? No, there's a whole mechanism behind that, right? The personality is behind that. So you, as the soul, as the divine soul, you power the mind. The mind is a tool, and it's a part of your personality, but it is not doing any of this on its own. So I'm just giving a little bit of background. When we say wisdom of the soul or wisdom of the mind, you see, the soul only knows one thing. Soul is ansh of Bhagwan, it is a part of God, and it is the nature of every part to love and want to serve its whole. It is the nature of every ansh to be attracted to and to desire its anshi. Our anshi is Shri Krishna. We are all his ansh. Therefore, jivera swarupa hoy krishnera nitya das. Our true identity is that we are the eternal servants of Shri Krishna. Can make sure our phones are off. There's been some amber alerts coming in this morning, so I'm sure this will happen a few times. If our phones are turned off, then we won't have to worry about it. So the soul has one wisdom. I want God. That's all the soul knows. The mind is the servant of the soul because the mind receives life from the soul. So the mind is supposed to be helping figure out how to find true happiness by finding God. But the problem is our mind gets, see, our mind can't know on its own, since the mind is actually Mayic. Mind can't know about God on its own, even though the master of the mind, the soul, is sending that one message: find God. Find perfect happiness by attaining God. The mind can't interpret that divine message. It just feels, I feel a restlessness. Internally, I just feel something is missing and I have to find it. I can't rest until I find it. What are you looking for? Mind doesn't know. We have to be educated by a divine saint. That's why we need a guru. The guru educates our mind, then the efforts of the mind come in alignment with what the soul really wants. Otherwise, if the mind isn't educated by the true guru, the mind is going to deviate and it's going to keep trying wholeheartedly to fill that inner void, but its efforts are going to be misdirected. In other words, it will seek fulfillment from Mayic things instead of from God. Then it collects all kinds of Mayic experiences, Mayic attachments, and we go on like this life after life. So all those experiences, some may be devotional, some may be purely worldly, they're all stored up in our mind. So the deepest level of our mind is even beyond our mind, actually. It's called our Karan Sharir. Karan Sharir is the causal body. It's the subtlest body that we have. It stores all of our past sanskars, all of our past karma. So even during Mahapralay, our Karan Sharir is still there, even though our mind is gone and our body is gone. The soul is there with its Karan Sharir. Then technically what our mind is the Sukshma Sharir, the subtle body. And then we have the Sthul Sharir, the physical body. When we have any thought in our mind, that thought is transferred from our Sukshma Sharir, which includes the mind, into the Karan Sharir. So that it's going one way, that way. All our thoughts are creating sanskars, and those are all being stored in our Karan Sharir, causal body. And in every lifetime, we have an internal destiny that's prearranged. When will those sanskars come the other way? It's a two-way street. Thoughts go and are stored in the causal body as sanskars, and then those come back and reflect back into our mind. So they come out of the Karan Sharir into the Sukshma Sharir. Then we feel some effect of that sanskar. So we have a mood that's affected by that. We feel more inclined to be devotional today. Why? Good sanskar, devotional sanskar came out of our causal body into our mind today, out of our Karan Sharir into our Sukshma Sharir. I'm not feeling like yesterday I was very devotional. Today I feel like leaving Radha Madhav Dham and going to Taco Bell. Had enough of dal and roti. So where did that random thought come from? Yesterday I was so happy and at peace here in the ashram. It came out of the Karan Sharir into the Sukshma Sharir, and now it's affecting my mind. Or sometimes we just get some intuition about something. This is what I should do. No, I should not do that. So where are all these feelings and intuitions coming from? From our own deeper, stored up past sanskars. It's not a message from God, and it's not a message from our soul, because our soul is always sending the same message. What is that? Find God. That's it. One message from the soul. The soul only knows one thing, the soul only says one thing and wants one thing. So we shouldn't think that this message, this internal feeling I have is coming from my soul, unless it's the feeling of, I want God, because that's what the soul wants. Everything else is just deeper layers of the mind, sanskars coming from previous lifetimes, and that affects our moods and the feelings that we get to do one thing or another. So this is the matter of these internal, a lot of people try to judge whether I should rely on those internal feelings. Actually, what we should rely on is the philosophy and the instructions that we've received from our guru, and then analyze this thing that I'm feeling, is this in alignment with my Guru's philosophy and my Guru's instructions? We shouldn't rely on those inner feelings. Although Shri Kripalu Ji Maharaj does say that when we're about to do something wrong, Krishna gives us, one time he gives us dhakka. We feel a little, oh, this is wrong. I shouldn't do this. That's Krishna doing that. He does that once. And then if we choose to ignore that, then he says, okay, go ahead. So we do get a little bit of help from Krishna internally in recognizing when we're about to do a wrong thing. But mostly those internal instincts that we feel, they're just coming from deeper layers of our own mind. They're not a message from God or a message from the soul, except in that one instance that I mentioned. So does anybody have any follow-up questions about this before I move on to the next two questions that I received? We have a wireless mic we can pass around if anyone wants to ask a follow-up. So technically the soul is the knower, right? The mind is a tool the soul uses to gather information and to understand and to express, but it's the soul that is the real entity, right? The mind is just affiliated with the soul. Of course, without the mind, soul can't know anything, but it's not the mind that's really doing the knowing. It is the soul. Okay, next question. A person sent me a question and it seems like they're feeling quite overwhelmed by the idea of namaparad. Yeah, because when we hear about namaparad, when we have any kind of negative thinking about God or Guru and how serious and damaging it is to our devotion, then a person's mind could start just thinking about that too much, right? Like, oh, again, the thing, like if I tell you don't think of a monkey, then your mind's going to start thinking of a monkey. And I give the example all the time. When I remember when I was young, I was probably in first or second grade, and I remember learning in school that God knows everything you think. And from then on, I couldn't stop thinking bad words in my head. Thinking, oh no, don't think a bad word. God's gonna know it. So there's no way out of that loop, right? The only way out of that loop is to give the mind something positive to think about. If you just try to not think the negative thing, it doesn't work. So this is why when we were doing that exercise of keeping track of how many times we think something bad about another person, the solution to that was, yes, we do want to track it and have a realistic idea of how much we're doing it, but then we don't want to focus on it, right? We divert the mind into Radhe breathing. Now, this person who sent the question is quite worried that, you know, I've done namaparad about my guru, and I keep doing it over and over again. I keep having the same thoughts, and I know Maharaji forgives me, but then I keep doing it again. So am I just lost? Meaning, is there no hope for me? The thing about namaparad, although we do want to be aware that obviously it's a very negative thing to do, we're basically severing the connection, the internal connection that we have between us and our Guru, us and Shri Krishna. When we have negative chintan, negative thoughts, we're actually closing that channel that we have between us and them. So then how can we receive their grace? Yes, this is the philosophy, so it's natural for a person to be concerned that, oh, I keep doing this. But Maharaji has also told us, don't dwell upon the past. Whatever mistakes we have made in the past, acknowledge them and then move on. Don't dwell upon it that I had this thought about my guru, I had this thought about Krishna. how can I ever be worthy to receive their grace? And then by thinking that, you're dwelling on that thought again and again and again, with that fear that I can't be forgiven. You know, I've had this thought too many times. I've had this negative thought about my guru too many times. Now I must be beyond saving. I'm beyond hope. And we're never beyond hope, because Guru is not looking for ways to punish us. Guru is looking for ways to help us, right? The namaparad is our own doing. Yes, it damages our devotional feelings, but it's not that, okay, you did this namaparad and now Guru is coming to punish you. It doesn't work like that. We ourselves have severed that connection with the negative thought. That's fine. Guru's not now coming, or Bhagwan is coming to punish us for that. We've already received the effect, the punishment, right? And I'm talking for devotees who know that I don't want to be having this thought, but I keep making this mistake. My mind kind of gets out of control. So Guru is so kind-hearted. He knows we're children and we're going to be making these mistakes over and over again. Yes, we are meant to resolve in our mind not to make the mistake again. We should feel that, oh, you know, why am I having this negative thought? We should scold our mind for that thought, and we should resolve not to do it again. But then it happens again. Okay, it's going to happen, right? It takes a while for us to overcome certain ways of wrong thinking or certain faults that we have. The point is, no matter how many times we make the same mistake, Guru is more forgiving and more kind than we are bad. Okay, just think of it that way. No matter how bad we can be, Guru can be more forgiving than that. So we should never feel that we've crossed some threshold and there's no coming back from that. There's always coming back. Guru is always ready and willing to forgive us. The person who asked this question also brought up the point that it said if you do namaparad against God, Guru can forgive you. But if you do namaparad against Guru, God won't forgive you. Right? We get the example of Durvasa and Ambarish. Durvasa did aparad against one of Krishna's devotees, right? A divine saint. And the only way, see, even God would not save him. Even God would not forgive Durvasa. Until what? Until he went to Ambarish. So in other words, Guru can forgive the aparad against God, and Guru can forgive the aparad against Guru. It's not that it's unforgivable, right? There's no prayashchit. That's correct. You can't do it on your own, just like, oh, I did this sin, I committed murder. Then Ved tells, do this charity, this much jap, this much of these good actions, and if you reach that threshold, now you've counteracted the effect of that sin. You won't have to pay for that sin in your next life. Prayashchit karma. There's no such prayashchit for namaparad. Yeah, it's fine, but that's what Guru's for. Guru is there to clean up that mess. So Guru has the right, Guru has the permission from God to forgive us for such things if we surrender to the Guru. This is a very important point for devotees to keep in mind, that although we want to be aware of the seriousness of doing namaparad, we also don't want to dwell upon our past mistakes, and we shouldn't feel that we've crossed any threshold of aparad and that now God and Guru are not going to forgive us. No. Think about our past lives, uncountable past lifetimes. We've done uncountable such things. We should focus on the positive, right? One final point on this topic. Shri Maharaj Ji has said that whatever you've done, no matter how horrible the sin, if you keep dwelling on it and feeling guilty for it, what are you doing? Your mind is in that thing. Now you're just polluting your mind over and over again by thinking about that past sin or that past mistake. He says, put your mind in something positive. Keep your mind in positive devotional thoughts about your relationship with God and Guru. Do Radhe breathing. Find some way to keep the mind in positivity rather than dwelling on. No matter how horrible the mistake or the sin, don't dwell upon it. Move on and keep your mind in something positive. Any follow-up questions to that before we take one more? Yes. Do we have a mic here? Anshul.
Radhe
Radhe.
So my question is, I guess, do you have any tips or advice for what we can do in the moment? Like whether it be namaparad or another thought that we're having, that in the moment we can recognize, oh gosh, I really don't want to be having this thought. I know for myself personally, sometimes I can recognize it in the moment and then I think about it and I'm like, please don't, please don't, please don't. And it agitates my mind even more. And then my mind is like, no, I'm going to.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and it like sends me personally down like a worse spiral. So I guess like in the moment, do you have any, you know, advice on what we should do?
I think a lot of times the mind feels justified in having that thought because it's some kind of intellectual disagreement the mind has with Guru's behavior or actions or something that we say, no, this doesn't align with what I think Guru should be doing, right? So when the mind has that kind of intellectual stubbornness and arrogance, all of us have it, what I find is best to do is just tell my mind, you know what, we'll just shelf this for later. Yeah, I see, like, you're not really understanding why this is like this, and this is why, you say to your mind, this is why you're getting upset about this. So I'm not telling you you're wrong, just let's think about it later. Maybe we'll get more experience, we'll get more knowledge, we'll be able to understand this later. Let's just shelf it for now. Make sense? So sometimes just telling the mind that it can't have that thought doesn't work. You can say, all right, okay, I understand your concern. Let's think about this later. Any other questions? There was one more aspect to this devotee's question, actually, is that he was kind of clumping Guru and Prachadak together. So there seemed to be a bit of confusion about that you can do namaparad against a Prachadak. And that, it's better to clump Prachadaks and Sadhaks together, right? And Guru is on his own, in his own status. Guru is divine, so when we say having negative thoughts about God and Guru, that means Radha Krishna and Shri Maharaj Ji. Prachadaks are sadhaks, and one shouldn't feel, see, he was asking, so now how do I get Maharaj Ji to forgive me? Well, I already explained, Maharaj Ji is ready to forgive you. He'll forgive you faster than you can forgive yourself. And he was also asking, how do I get the Prachadak to forgive me? So that is neither here nor there. We should, of course, look at all satsangis, all sadhaks as Maharaj Ji's children. And we don't want to cause pain to any of them. We want to be polite and give respect to everybody. We shouldn't worry about, if we've made a mistake, we can apologize and then again move on, right? Whether a person forgives you or not is now on them. If they want to keep harboring resentment, whether they're a Prachadak or any other devotee, it's not really your problem. You need to acknowledge that people don't get confused. Shri Maharaj Ji has said, once someone comes to me, no matter which prachadak they come through, now they have a direct connection with their divine guru. They belong to Maharajji. They have a direct personal connection with Maharajji. Now there's no, I'm with this prachadak, I'm with that prachadak. You're with Maharajji. Bas, nothing else to think about. How to think of the role of prachadak? See, he was also using the word, like sometimes people use this phrase, serving a prachadak. That's no such a thing, actually. See, think of a prachadak as a team leader. Just like here during the intensive, let's say Nick Bhaiya is team leader of cleanup in the kitchen. So if you're in the kitchen washing pots, are you doing seva to Nick Bhaiya? No, you're serving Maharajji, right? You're not thinking I'm serving Nick. If Gaur Hari is in charge, he's team leader of cooking in the ashram. So if you're in there chopping carrots for a meal, are you doing seva to Gaur Hari? No, you're doing seva to Maharajji. Brajrani is team leader of housekeeping. So if you're in the breezeway folding chaddars, are you doing seva to Brajrani? No, you're doing seva to Maharajji. So a pracharak is team leader for prachar, just another department. That's it. So you want to be a part of the team of spreading Maharajji's message, then you can support that effort, right? Now the pracharak may be front-facing, have the more prominent role as far as what the public sees, but it's just a team to support spreading Maharajji's message. So if you're supporting any local programs of any pracharak, you're not serving that pracharak. You're serving Maharajji by taking part in being part of the prachar team. Think of it that way. So pracharaks are not divine saints. We are on the path just like you, and we're team leaders of a certain department which is no more or less important than any other department in Shri Maharajji's ashrams or Shri Maharajji's mission. There's only one guru for all eternity. In our mission, in Shri Maharajji's mission, he is the only guru forever. When even divine didis, although they're obviously qualified to have the status of guru, Shrotriyam Brahmanishtham, of course they are, yet they themselves are not taking on that role, then who is any pracharak to take on that role, right? We are not guru, we are not God realized, but we're just team leaders in the department of prachar. Any questions about that? Okay. Santosh Bhaiya, you want to ask your question? Raise your hand so we can bring you the mic.
Radha Bhaiya, it's related to humbleness. So humbleness is definitely it's working well all the area, but sometime in office, right, with the different people. So we felt like people are taking advantage of that. So how we can handle that in office area?
Yeah, this is a very common practical question and something very important for everyone to understand. How do we actually implement humbleness in a worldly setting? Maharajji quotes from Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji's Shikshashtak, and he says, Trinadapi sune chena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sada harihi. He states the ideal level of humbleness for a devotee of God. that one should be more humble than a blade of grass that gets stepped on and doesn't grumble, more forbearing than a tree that, think of a mango tree, people throw rocks at it, and what does it give in return? Fruit. And it provides shade to everyone. So it bears all the abuses and insults and just gives fruit and shade to everyone. And instead of seeking maan, instead of seeking honor and prestige and other people's appreciation, we should actually try to give that to others, not look for it for ourselves. So this is the ideal. And I would say there are two different situations. There's ashram living, or any time you're in satsang, whether it's just for an hour when you visit a local satsang, or when you're living in an ashram, temporarily or permanently, that's one situation. And then there's living in some worldly situation, right, where you have to go to work, be in the office, interact with people who are not following this path. So in the ashram, we can be, ideally, we could be the same inside. Oh, this devotee is taking credit for my seva that I did. What does it matter? Maharaji is not giving us credit for accomplishing our seva. He's giving us credit for remembering him and just the feeling of humbleness that we had while doing the seva. He's not keeping track of how much we accomplish. So really in the ashram we can physically live that if we can learn to, right? We can be that humble in the ashram. Nothing wrong is going to happen. If there's some situation that rarely arises, sure, it happens. We're not all Mahapurush living over here. So, of course, there will be situations that arise where you have to have some conversation with someone, right? That this type of behavior is affecting me in this way, and you have to sometimes sort out a situation. You can't just keep bearing abuses if it's an unhealthy situation. But for the most part, we can have the utmost humbleness inside and outside. We don't have to be bossy or in charge of anything here in the ashram. Sometimes we have to be in a managerial role, that's fine. But most of the time we can exhibit externally this utmost humbleness. But in the world, is this a practical thing to be able to live like that? I know from so many of you who tell me that, in your job, you're maybe part of a team of computer programmers, and there's always assessments going on, and if you don't get a good assessment, you could end up getting fired after a couple of years, and when you do work, someone else takes responsibility for or takes credit for your work, and then blames you for their mistakes, and then what's going to happen, right? So these are the situations you have to deal with, and then you have managers who may be also playing some kind of games with you. So you really do have to look out for yourself in the world. And Maharaji has said that it's okay to be clever in the world and crafty and even manipulative. But do that to avoid getting taken advantage of. Don't do it in order to take advantage of other people. So it's okay to be smart, clever, crafty in the world. Don't do it to take advantage of others. Do it to be aware of others' intentions and that they're probably trying to take advantage of you. It's fine, it's the world. So in the world we have to behave appropriate to the situation. We can't always express our inner humbleness. Hopefully we have inner humbleness, some amount of inner humbleness. We can't always express that externally in the world, although it's nice when we can. That would be ideal. But there are many times where we have to behave more confidently, right? I can do that. Give me this, I'll handle it. That's fine, that confidence is good. See, being humble doesn't mean not being confident. Being humble means, let's say you have the feeling, yeah, I can do this. Why not? I can do this because I have Shri Krishna sitting inside me. Why shouldn't I be able to do this? I should be able to do anything. I don't have to worry about anything in this world. Maharaji is with me, right? That kind of humbleness is healthy. It's mentally healthy, and we should all develop that, confidence. That kind of confidence is healthy, and we should all try to develop that. That doesn't mean we're not humble, because at the same time we're also thinking that this is only because of Krishna and Maharaji, so I don't have to feel like this is me who's great. No, if I'm great, it's because of them, right? And then we also bring in the larger perspective, just like we were hearing Shri Maharaji talk about, Sare pagalon mein se wo wala kam pagal tha, right? So we're in this insane asylum of God's children who have forgotten their true identity. They believe themselves to be the body. Better, we're still crazy. We're just maybe a little less crazy than we have to keep that perspective. After all, we're not God realized, and we've lived infinite lifetimes, and we keep searching for happiness in this world instead of seeking happiness from God. So how intelligent really are we, right? So we keep that perspective. Okay, yeah, that's true. I have a lot of reasons to be humble. But at the same time, I am Krishna's. I am Maharaji's. So who do I have to fear in this world? Maharaji says you should have that feeling, Ananta koti brahmandon ke nayak mere baap hain. Yahi hai, andar baithe hain. Maharaji says you look at a prime minister's or a president's son or daughter and look how they walk around. They can't help themselves, right? There's a strut. So they're just the child of the leader of one small country on this one small earth planet. We have the Lord of the entire universe sitting inside here. Why shouldn't we be confident? Whom should we fear in this world? It's important to keep both those things together. Be humble. In other words, I'm not better than anyone else, but I have Krishna and Maharaji with me. So what do I have to worry about? What do I have to fear? What isn't there that I can do in this world? So it's okay to carry that confidence and still be humble at the same time. Is this making sense? Does anybody have any follow-up questions to this? Yes. Can we bring the mic here in the front row?
My question was that I feel like it's kind of mean if you say that I'm better than you or something, because that sometimes comes out of your mouth when you try to say that you're confident. Mm-hmm. So how are you supposed to stop that from you saying that?
That's a great question. There's a balance between feeling confident and having a superiority complex, right? That I'm better than everyone else. Actually, Maharaji says we all naturally believe that we're smarter than everybody. Everybody thinks they're smarter than everybody else. So we just have to remind ourselves that actually we're all in the same boat, right? We're all souls. We all have the same Radha Krishna sitting in our heart. Even if someone's not a devotee of Radha Krishna, even if someone hasn't surrendered to Shri Maharaji, they could tomorrow. They could have a really good sanskar that comes tomorrow, and they go further ahead than we are. So we should always remember, no matter who anybody is in this world, we're actually not better than them. It's a fact. So we can just remind ourselves of that and be kind to everybody, knowing that we're all in the same boat. Even devotees and non-devotees are all in the same boat. But then be confident at the same time. So you can carry that confidence in a kind way, right? Confidence doesn't mean I'm trying to show you I'm better than you. Confidence just means I'm not afraid of anything. I know I can do anything. With Maharaji's help, with Radha Krishna's help, I can do anything up to God realization. But I'm not doing it to show that I'm better than you or to put someone down or to get ahead of someone else, right? Actually, you could think of it as, hey, let's all go together. I can show we'll all go together. So that confidence can positively influence the people around you so they feel more confident too, instead of them feeling smaller. Make sense? Anything else? Any other questions? संतोष भाई या कुछ और नहीं? Okay, good. We have, oh yes.
Radha Bhaiya.
Radha,
So we have uncountable sins, right, from uncountable lifetimes. Is that something we have to pay the consequence of? Or does the Guru, once we do sadhana, does the Guru cut those sins?
Yeah, that's another riayat that Guru and Bhagwan give us. If it was just justice, you did this many sins, so there's no way out of it. You have to pay. Bhagwan says, no, we just delete that record when you surrender. Yes, Udgam.
Radha Bhaiya, on the topic of Namaparad, when we bring new satsangis onto the path to either see Maharaji, see the lectures, obviously, is there anything that we can do to keep them from that, or should we even be concerned, or should we just say
Actually, if you look in that chapter of Premras Siddhant on Kusang, it says not to give too much information to people too soon. So just, don't try to explain things to someone that they're not going to be able to understand. Kind of gradually ease them into it. Yeah, so you can help to some extent, right? But of course, the person, it's not a completely controlled environment. And the person is going to hear and read and listen to things on their own as well. So we can try to have a structured way for them to build their understanding, but they also just have to be aware that they're going to have some of those situations like I mentioned before where they just say, okay, I'm going to shelve this. I can't understand it right now. My mind isn't accepting it right now. It's okay. I don't have to accept it right now. I'll figure it out later. Let me learn more. Let me get more experience because on one hand, a person is feeling something positive. They're getting some kind of positive benefit or feelings from doing devotion or being in satsang, and then their intellect identifies a particular thing it can't accept, right? So then you can just say, okay, look, you're getting all these positive benefits. So are you going to throw all that out just because you're hung up on this one thing? Or do you think maybe when you get more experience, you might get the answer to that as well? So I'm not saying it's not a valid concern, just shelve it for now, and you'll get the answer later. Yes. One more here in front, Krishna.
Radha Bhaiya.
Radha, Radha.
So when we commit Namaprad, our level, we're at a specific level in our devotion. We need to get to 100% to realize Bhagavan. So when we commit a Namaprad, our level of devotion just stays the same, but we're taken away from that because of our punishment. And we've committed countless Namaprads. So how do we make sure that we don't fall all the way down where we aren't able to continue doing our devotion?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a punishment. It's more our heart purified to a certain amount, so we've opened a channel. Now Guru's grace is flowing along that channel, and that channel is based on our positive thinking. As soon as we cut that off, It's not that Guru is punishing us. We've severed or we've blocked that flow because now our mind is not open. We've had that negative thought. Guru and Krishna have pledged to protect what we've gained, right? Yoga kshemam vahamyam. So that protecting what we've gained means whatever bhav, whatever progress we made, even when we make mistakes like that, they're still protecting it. Now we have to correct it. We have to repent, and we have to then again establish the positive connection. And as soon as we establish the positive connection, the grace starts flowing again. And although it may take some time to recover, you could say, from a namaparad, because it really disturbs our mind. It's not that we're being punished. We've caused that disturbance in our own mind, in our own emotions towards God and Guru, so it takes a while to clear that up. As soon as we do, the grace is flowing just like it was before. And whatever we had gained before, Guru has also protected that. So we continue from where we left off. However, of course, if a person willfully just says, you know, I don't want this, and just engages their mind willfully in repeatedly having those kinds of negative thoughts, then, you know, what can Guru do? Guru's trying to grace, and we've severed the tie. So then, yeah, a person could fall from the path back into the world. Not that it's some kind of punishment, but just that they went so far down that road, right? And they didn't want to come back, put it that way. Those devotional sanskars will still be there for whenever they get another human life and another chance to meet a guru. But then see, why do we not feel the bliss of Krishna's name, Radha's name when we chant? Because of past namaparad. So Guru's busy cleaning that. That's why we have to do sadhana. So it's nothing to worry about. It's part of the process, part of everybody's process. So yeah, nothing to worry about at all. Again, if we start worrying about, I did this namaparad, oh, what's going to happen? Then our mind isn't doing devotion, actually. Our mind is just dwelling on negative things. So know that Guru's there. As long as we have the will to go forward, Guru's going to take us forward through anything, any mistake, any bad sanskar. Yes.
Radhe Radhe Bhaiya. So there comes a point in sadhana when you're sitting for so long and your mind starts wandering and you get tired of singing. So I know you're supposed to just say Radhe name or sing quietly in your mind, but your mind just gets exhausted and you just want to stop. So do you force yourself and still sit in the sadhana, or is it okay to walk away, take a break for 5-10 minutes and come back fresh-minded? What is better?
For sure. Maharaj even used to say, you know, he would talk more about it in terms of sleep, but if you feel sleepy, get up, do a few laps of the sadhana hall and come back, or go throw some water in your face. So that would apply whether, even if you're not feeling sleepy, you're just mentally tired of doing the sadhana. It's totally fine to refresh like that. Over here, Krishna.
Radhe Radhe Bhaiya. How do you go about trying to balance maybe your own, say you think there's something that's better for your personal individual sadhana, hey, I'd rather be in the hall. For example, you lead the outdoor seva session, and there's a part which is like, hey, you know, maybe it would be better for me to be in the hall because that's directly, you know, Maharaji says that at the end of the day is going to get us, you know, the
Seva is also, seva is also important, but we need to do both. Sadhana helps us control our mind and develop that. It's the repetitive nature of doing sadhana, that we're putting our mind in Radha Krishna over and over and over again. So that's the whole point of doing sadhana, right? And then doing seva is an offering to the Guru. So it's a different approach, you can say, or it's just a different way of working towards the same goal. When we're doing seva, we're thinking of making an offering to the Guru, and when we're doing sadhana, we're actually learning to control our mind. Both are important. And of course, doing sadhana is a way of doing seva, because it's Maharaji's instructions. And you can think, hey, even by me being here in the hall, I'm encouraging other people. I'm supporting or being a part of this effort of everyone to do sadhana. So that's also seva to the Guru. But the physical seva is also an important part of devotion. So try to find a balance between the two. We want to fulfill our seva responsibilities, but never use it as an excuse to be out of sadhana, right?
So maybe how do
we should watch our mind. That is my mind just being lazy, like, oh, it's too hard sitting in sadhana, I'm going to go do more seva. It's okay if you tend towards physical seva, but don't completely just think, oh, I don't need to do any sadhana, I'm just going to do seva. And same thing on the other side. We shouldn't think that I'll just keep doing sadhana and, you know, there's enough people to do seva. Well, we should make some effort to do seva as well. It's a great way to increase humbleness, and that kind of devotional foundation is built through seva. So find your own personal balance, what works for you. There's no formula for everybody.
Just your thought, Bhaiya. So like we were here for 1 week or let's say 2 weeks, we were following certain discipline, doing seva, and maybe 90% of time devotion, some other form. But now we're going to go back home and our life won't be same, obviously, basic, and mainly for kids. They will be end up doing screens, you know, not doing devotion or seva. With the bhav they have here, they won't be doing all this at home. So do you have a message for everyone, or basically for kids, so you know they stay a little bit devoted even though they go back home after such a long devotional time?
Yeah, I think it's important for kids to also take time out for that ekant sadhana, even if it's only for a few minutes. That daily connection is important. So they may not have the opportunity to do seva. It depends where they live, what city they live in, whether there's a local center. So some of them will have the opportunity to do seva, which is a great way to stay involved. But there has to be a daily practice, even if it's just a few minutes of rup dhyan and kirtan, listening to kirtan, singing their own kirtan. So many of them sing or play dholak, right? So everybody has to maintain that connection with Maharaji and Radha Krishna by doing that ekant sadhana. Ekant doesn't mean they have to be alone. You could do it as a family, but it means you stop all your activities, you sit and you do sadhana for some time. That's the most important thing. All right, it's 12:30, so I think we'll have some announcements and then do the arti. This might be something Sunita is going to announce, but I just want to let people know that many of us will be going to India for Sharad Purnima and Shri Maharaji's 100th anniversary. Those of you who may not be able to go to India, Gopeshwari Didi will be here at Radha Madhav Dham during that time, and she'll be leading a weekend intensive. And it's going to be a maun sadhana, a silent intensive. Maun sadhana means we'll still have kirtan and lectures and all of that. It's just that during free time, you're not allowed to talk. So it's a very serious sadhana for 3 days, and that's in October. I forget the exact dates, but October 9th, 10th, and 11th, right? Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Any other announcements?
Yeah. So first, Radha everyone, join me in thanking Swami Nikhilanand for such clarity and crispness of questions. Thank you, Bhaiya. And a warm welcome to the Austin community members who've joined us this morning for satsang. If you're wondering, these questions were very specific because we've had devotees from all over the country staying for a 2-week devotional camp.